in person, but you guys have the courage to be here. Fear is powerful, but community is more powerful than the fear. So we will not allow fear to not to disturb our power. And so we want to be empowered, and that is why we are here this morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Ola. On you.
Thank you, sir. Please, can we give Tommy the permission to share? She has her slides. While
All
she's
right.
doing that, we want to acknowledge our host and the Church of God. Thank you for always giving us the opportunity to share with you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. While we are trying to get our slides up, we just want to say that this is not political, because we need to clarify the purpose of this presentation. It is more pastoral, and it's coming more from the public health perspective. Also, for those people who would not know what the definition of ICE is, ICE is not as in the weather that we're talking about this morning. We are talking about immigration and customs enforcement. Also, we want to emphasize that we are talking about the human impact. When we talk about the human impact, it consists of the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual impact of ICE raids in Minnesota and other states in the US. And also, we want to say that there is a scriptural grounding for this presentation, and it's taken from the book of Psalm 34, verse 18. The NIV version says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Why are we using this as our anchor verse? It's because God is promising that we have divine proximity to Him, that there is comfort with Him, and there is active rescue. Even in the midst of all, we see people that are getting richer. As I shared with some people in our church a few weeks ago, some people are taking up this opportunity and using it to get richer. That guy actually shared with us, Dr. Omoto, a very good friend of ours. He said, if they take their citizenship from you, they cannot take your qualifications. So what you carry is inside of you. Why don't you try and use this opportunity to discover your hidden potential? There is a comfort somewhere. So we would appreciate if everyone will come with open-mindedness this morning. Come as you are, but don't remain as you are at the end of this presentation. So we want to introduce the presentation. This is all about, Tommy, can you go to the next slide, please? Just like I have on my slide right there about the introduction. This presentation, just like I said, is coming from the perspective of a public health lens and also the faith perspective. Tommy, can you go to the next slide, please? And if we say that, we want to say that immigration enforcement actions, including all the ICE raids, it's enough to create intense fear and uncertainty within individuals, within families, within the church community as well. I remembered when it started. A church of about 70 people did that day. We were not even up to 10 because people just decided to stay at home. It would be embarrassing for ICE to come into the church and then take the pastor or whoever is there. It's as if the shepherd is taken away from the sheep. So we know it's enough to cause people intense fear. It's enough to make people ask, then what? Who will take care of my kids? How do I go to work? So definitely it came as a surprise to so many people that were already settled here. We have decided to call this place home, because if you travel abroad, the longest you can stay is about 6 months before you start missing America, So we know there are so many uncertainties with this, but I want to say that in the midst of it all, we need to understand how the chronic stress and the trauma affect our brain, especially for our youth and children, for the elderly, how it affects our physical health, how it affects family stability, how it affects child development. And we need to do a lot of reminders here. We are people of faith. We belong to the church. We have our spirituality, which is one of the things that is carrying us. So when we decide to talk about the body and mind, we are whole person, spirit, soul, and body. So if we are to really look at the impact, we need to look at this. So our goal for this presentation is not to debate policy, but to provide compassionate education, practical coping tools, and spiritual encouragement so individuals and communities can respond with knowledge, preparedness, and hope rather than fear. Tommy, can you go to the next slide? I'm already, on the second slide. Are you able to change the slide now, Tommy? If not, can you just give me control then? Okay, so go to the third slide. So what happens during immigration enforcement actions? Now is when we can say this is what, will happen before nobody understands the operation. And I think Dr. Oni can talk about this more. But some of the things we've had in the community is that they go to people's workplace to raid. They go, home visiting uninvited, traffic stops, community sweeps. If you go to any occasion now in the community, people are so careful. They do housekeeping and they tell them how many exits that we have in any space. And also, there is family separation risk. And I think Dr. Oni told me about a case of someone who is a citizen and was traveling within America, and she was stopped. Dr. Oni, you want to share that with the group?
Can you imagine that? Somebody was just going to Philadelphia from St. Paul Airport, and at the airport, they have one of the officers right at the entrance before you get to your seat. They have this dog and the officer there. And by the time this one of friend got to the place, they look at it and say, "Oh no, we already got your picture." So the moment they register in the front desk, the picture translated or transmitted to the officers. And so when people are coming in, they already know who is coming. And so I remember last time I think last month when we had immigration attorney that talked to us, they said they already knew the people they are looking for. And sometimes people go in the wrong time at the wrong place. And so that's why some people are arrested. But the scanning, people are just scanning you. You are not sure who is following you, who is seeing you. And that alone is really, really traumatizing to a lot of people. The scanning of who is following me. People become so hyper vigilant. It's affecting your emotion. And one of the things we want to talk about this morning is how do we normalize those things? Because it's fear. And the physical aspect of that is people become anxious. People are not really patient with people. They become very edgy. Little things just trigger people. And you say, is there more than this? Because people are so wound up, they are overwhelmed. And so when we talk about this physical, emotional, psychological, is what is affecting everybody in the workplace. It happened in the homes, it happened in the community, and even it happened in the church. People don't have patience again to listen. They are not really getting what the pastor or saying, because they are thinking, who is going to follow me when I'm going home from church? So this kind of thing is what is affecting, and that is why we want to talk about how is this affecting us. People do not know that. People just say, I'm feeling this way, but we all know you don't just start this one overnight. This is something that has been building up for the past 2 months. We've witnessed people being shot. That one alone is very traumatic for some people. They've never seen anybody shot in the broad daylight like that. So we think this is very important. And as we are talking about this, please, this is the opportunity for you. If you have been traumatized, if you've been overwhelmed, please start calling some professional. Talk to your church pastor, talk to your friends. Let people know how you are feeling, because this can really lead to depression. It can lead to some action, some behavioral action that may be negative. Back to you, Dr. Ola.
Thank you very much, sir. So it's always good to share some of these experiences that people are sharing with us. And, one of the things she told me, because I had to reach out to the person to listen to her, it's always good to listen to people's stories, because from there, you know what people are going through and what they are experiencing. And she said, the officer told her, now we have your face, the picture of your face. And I was like, anytime you are traveling again, they might pull you out of the line or something. Sharing my own experience too, I traveled to Nigeria and, Dr. Oni was telling me, let's do something. I said, let me come back first and be sure. There is a lot of unpredictability. And that is in itself is a core stressor. You cannot predict what will happen next. Unpredictability. We don't know who is going to be the next person. We've had some of our friends and our professional colleagues that they've taken them, and then we see stories, different things. So we are talking about this because over time, the church community and the community at large can experience something we call anticipatory trauma. People are traumatized already. They are traumatized. And as a community, we can start, anticipating trauma again, which is not so good for our brain. And that's why we want to talk about our mind and body this morning, understanding this dynamic situation helps us to really recognize the impact of enforcement actions, not only legal or political. It is psychological, it is physical, it is communal, and also spiritual. Tommy, next slide. And, the body stress response to all this. When someone experiences a sudden threat, because this came as a threat to most of the communities. So many people stopped going to church. And one of the places that people feel socially connected is at the church. They stopped going for community events. They stopped going to parks. People stopped going out. And that you could be very isolating. So the fear alone, it's enough to activate, an automatic survival system, which is known as the stress response. This response is not a weakness. We want you to know that. It is something that is built in us as a protection mechanism that is designed to save us from danger. So when this is triggered over time, repeatedly, the stress response, when it is triggered continuously, it becomes harmful to the brain, to the body, to the mind. So at the center of this response, we can see a lot of things happening. It's something like the alarm system. I know someone told me, even the person, is a citizen. Just because someone called and said, don't come back home from your daughter's school because we have ice here. She had to go stay in a friend's house. And I was asking, are you not a citizen? She said, I am. Then why were you so scared? That is the alarm system that this enforcement actually triggered in so many people. So we don't even know who is a citizen and who is not anymore, because we saw a lot of things happening. So some of the things that will happen when the body's stress response is triggered is that the first thing is for us to fight. That's the instinct to confront the threat. And that was why so many people joined the protest. They start with anger, hugging, and, raised voice. And this comes into play even at home. there is flight. We are always, looking for a way to escape or avoid danger. Running, avoiding public places like the church, staying at home, even by when you hear any sound, you are forced to run to the window to see what is happening. So this is about flight. And the freeze part of it, the body becomes immobilized. You feel stuck. Even, if you are moving, you still feel stuck in your body and your mind. Sometimes some people are unable to speak. You keep asking, especially for kids, you keep asking, what happened? And they'll say, I can't really remember. I can't talk now. It's not as if they do not have the story of what happened, but just because they have frozen within their body and their mind, they become immobilized and they are not able to make any response to whatever is being said. Also, people found they are attempting to appease or comply to reduce perceived danger. In my church this last Sunday, we were talking about areas where the Holy Spirit is helping us to become better people. And, someone shared and said, I have been transferring a lot of aggression to my kids. And she apologized openly in the church and mentioned the kid's name. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for reacting to you that way. It's because I've been transferring my aggression. And that's what we see in so many families, in so many communities, when people are, responding to stress. And finally, the one that Dr. Oni mentioned is chronic hypervigilance. That is huge. The nervous system remains on high alert to fight, to flight, to freeze, or to fawn. You are always looking for a way out, even after the threat has passed. You are still hypervigilant. So people constantly scan their environment for danger. Usually I stay late in my office and I'm always going to the window to peep. Who is there? Sometimes I call Dr. Oni to keep him on the phone so that if anything happens, he will know that, this is where I'm at. So these are some of the things that we experience and we do not have a name for. Sometimes you think, what is happening to me? Your spouse will be saying you have changed in a way, even if you are not the direct victim. But because of what is happening in the community and the way we are very communal people, you feel this. You feel for those people who are impacted. Tommy, next slide. Dr. Oni, you want to take this? The common physical symptoms of the stress response.
Yes. Yes, and like you said, so many of these are happening to people. The physical health effects or impact include, but not limited to, the following things. Within this period, a lot of people's blood pressure has really gone wacko, really on the high rise. This situation also has weakened the immunity of people. The immune system is really affected. Sleep and appetite problems are happening this time because people are just thinking they don't have appetite to eat. Some people complain that what they used to enjoy eating doesn't go well with them. So these are kind of impact that is happening to us. When you are always in constant afraid or fear of unknown, there's no way you can settle to eat well. And these are the kind of, when we talk about mind and body, that's what we are talking about here. The sleep pattern changes. The fear of this leads to withdrawal from your activities. Those withdrawal of activities that seem to benefit you before are not happening anymore because of the fear. The headaches, people start complaining, I don't know where the headache come from because they cannot really acclimatize that to say this is what is happening. People just complain. People don't think it's fake, but it's not fake. It's something that is happening. This kind of physical health impact are very important to notice. And whatever is happening now, I want people to know that it's being validated. We validate what is happening to you because you know your body. And you know things have changed. And all we are talking about is how do we now go back to normalize things emotionally and physically and psychological. So it is important that we do different things. Later on, we'll talk about that. What can we do to really reduce some of those physical symptoms that we are seeing? Parents sometimes, they are very distressed now. They are protecting their children, not to let the children know how they are feeling, but the children are they are seeing that. They see the cue, they got the cue, and they become the protector of their families. So we need to look at all those things when it's happening and watch ourselves. This is the time we need to be sensitive to our body, sensitive to our feelings, and see if this is validated. Because sometimes it happens and you just think, hey, am I really seeing things that other people are not seeing or hearing things that other people are not hearing? So we know when this happens to people, they are second guessing how their feelings is. And we know this is very important to really understand your system, how it works. When we talk about, I want to include even the community and social impact of this raid. It is so important. Our community likes to do things together. Now people don't even have their neighbors. You don't trust your neighbors because you don't know who is staying with your neighbor and how that will affect you. So communities start to really be fragmented. We are not together anymore. Weakened collective resources are all weakened. The job that we love to do, all those things are they impact your body as well as your soul because those are the things you do on a daily basis. Some people talk about digestive system. The body, like I just mentioned, some people just don't eat well anymore. Things they love to eat becomes, you know, not things they like anymore. The disturbance of the sleep, what causes that? Because they cannot rest. When you are sleeping and you are not restful in that sleep, constantly thinking who is knocking on the door or whom are you hearing, who is going to be calling you that a friend is being picked up. That is very important. There are so many of our friends that we're looking for a lawyer or attorney to go to Texas and those places. And we just can't. So many people now have been doing some donations. This is affecting us. It's overwhelming to people. I usually play with people. I say, this is the time that Minnesota is really nice. People have been talking about Minnesota nice in a sarcastic way, but this time around, I give them kudos because the degrees and the people come out for support is really overwhelming and very, very impactful. And I think that is one of the outcome that led to all this reduction of the officers now in our state. Next slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So just like Dr. Oni said, when we see that fear becomes ongoing, it's not stopping, we don't know when it's going to come to an end, and you are anticipating something happening, it's like you are switched on. It's like a bulb that is switched on from morning till night every day. There is the possibility of this bulb, electric bulb, to blow, at some point. And that's the kind of effect that this switching on of our, nervous system by staying switched on, that's the kind of effect it has on our body, and it impacts our mental and physical health. Tommy, next slide. Dr. Oni talked about all this already. What we have on the next slide, it weakens the immune system, increased blood pressure, and it contributes to anxiety and depression. Go to the next slide, Tommy, because we have less than 5 minutes and we want people to ask questions. These are some of the things that are the short-term mental health effects. Tommy, next slide. When individuals experience or anticipate immigration enforcement actions, the mind responds quickly. And most of the time, for minutes or hours, these reactions happen because the brain temporarily redirects energy towards survival. The thinking brain becomes less active. We cannot think straight when we are stressed and we are responding in a stressful way to a situation. These are all the things that are the short-term effect of mental health effects on us. we have decided to talk about the effect on children. Next slide. Long term, it becomes more dangerous. Long-term psychological impact, if it's continuous, it becomes PTSD. People use that a lot. They don't know what it means. I have PTSD, I have PTSD. I pray you won't have PTSD in Jesus' name. But if you are experiencing it, you are always in the flight, fight, freeze, or fawn mode. You are hypervigilant. Substance use coping, we've heard from some of our friends in the community that people who have been successfully rehabilitated, they've gone back to using substance. Go to the next slide, Tommy. So the impact on children, these are some of the things that these kids are not verbalizing, but instead they show it in their behavior. Some of these kids will regress to earlier developmental behaviors. Bedwetting, some of the things we've seen in the community is for them to pick up behaviors that they were not having before, like lying or, being manipulative. This can be the result of, the enforcement that is going on. Some become very clingy or fearful. Some, their mood will change. Academic decline, attachment insecurity, just because their nervous systems are still developing. So uncertainty feels especially overwhelming for them. What is the impact on adults? Next slide, Tommy. For most adults, just like we mentioned, for the church community, we may notice attendance shift, less engagement. People cannot wait for the service to be over. Or probably sometimes when they're in the church, whenever the door is open, they tend to look back. That happens in my church. Whenever someone is opening the door, everybody will just, before we are not distracted, but now people are less engaged or increased quietness because they are thinking, when I'm driving back home, what will be the safest route to take home? These are the things that are going on in people's mind. This is not necessarily loss of faith, but it is often a sign of stress. When people are living with uncertainty about safety or family stability, the mind and body react in protective ways. We need to know that. And understanding this reduces stigma and helps us to respond with compassion instead of judgment. So these are normal responses to abnormal stress. Next slide, Tommy. We have 1 minute more. These are some of the things that we can do to protect ourselves and build resilience. When we talk about resilience, it's not the absence of pain, but it is our ability to adapt. Church is a protective buffer for most people. We need to keep our faith and keep praying. There will always be a solution. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. And healing the body and mind, next slide, Tommy, it's important we take a breath. Always take your time to be grounded. Make sure that you tell your story so that people can learn from it. It's not to make jest of anyone, but it's to make sure that we know what you are going through is not peculiar to you. And lastly, we want to say that as an organization, what we offer, PIR, Progressive Individual Resources. Next slide, Tommy. We offer all this. We provide a safe discussion space, just like the one we are having. We host legal education workshops, just like the one that a lawyer came in to do. We partner with mental health professionals and churches, and we avoid spreading misinformation. And to conclude, we want to say it is important for us to remember that the impact, last slide, Tommy, the impact of immigration enforcement action is not only legal or political, it is deeply human. But we want you to understand that there is also hope. Thank you. If there are questions, please put it in the chat. Do we have a minute or two to take questions, Pastor Ruth?
Yes, ma'am. Please, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself or you can put your questions on the chat.
Yeah.
I know sometimes when we have information like this, people don't really say much, but this is one of the reasons why in-person is very important, because you can see people's faces and be able to say, hey, do this. But when we do this, we always expect people to either send a note to the pastor who can send them to us, because it's important that this is not a training ground. It's a place where you can express yourself too, to say, this is how I'm feeling, or maybe you have some friend. Continue to share with us so that next time around, we know what is going on in your own area that you are. It is important that this type of training is to support us and to empower us, just like the name empowerment. And we appreciate this. Many of you in your churches, if you want this to be done in your churches too, we can do it anywhere, because we want to spread the word. We want people to learn from each other. And we want people to know that you get the support system within the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. If you don't, maybe you have a question, you don't want to talk here, please, you can reach out to me. I can give you Dr. Oni or Dr. Ola's phone number. You can talk to them. Please, like they have said, talk, speak out if you need to talk. And every one of us, we are here to help. God bless us in Jesus' name. Thank you,
Amen.
Dr. Oni, once again. Thank you, Dr. Ola. Thank you, Tommy, everybody in your team. We appreciate you all. God bless you for coming.